never thought an ordinary Tuesday could change everything. But there I was, sitting in the dim light of my apartment, staring at a postcard. The vibrant colors of the Caribbean beach contrasted the dull ache in my heart. My parents had sent it to me weeks ago, bragging about their lavish vacation. It wasn't the vacation itself that stung. It was the reminder that life could casually move on, even as mine felt frozen in time. My name is Sophie, I'm 29, and life had dealt me a cruel hand. I had poured everything into my job at a nonprofit focused on helping families in need, and when I finally mustered the courage to venture into romance with someone I thought I could trust, I ended up being blindsided. That fateful encounter began 2 months ago. I was scrolling through my phone while sipping coffee in a cozy cafe when I was approached by a friendly face. It was Mia, a former college classmate. We were thick as thieves back then, but time had worn down our connection. Sophie. Wow, it's been ages, she exclaimed, a sparkle in her eye. We struck up a conversation that flowed like water, and before I knew it, I had invited her to my apartment for some wine and catching up. What I didn't expect was for her to bring along her brother, Evan. Tall, dark, and charming in a boyish way, he had an easy smile that made me feel disarmed and alive. By the end of the night, laughter filled the air, a refreshing reprieve from my otherwise mundane life. We exchanged numbers, and like wildfire, a thrill blossomed between us. Those early days were electric. Each message ignited something I hadn't felt in years. I let my heart chase the spark. I fell quick, head over heels, captivated by the way he made me feel alive. But as the weeks rolled by, flirtatious texts, dinner dates, and longing glances, I started to notice cracks in the facade. Evan was cryptic, pulling away whenever I asked about his past or his family. "You'll meet them soon enough," he'd say with a grin, but it always felt like he was deflecting. Then there was the night it all fell apart. I had planned a surprise for him, something sweet. I picked up his favorite dessert and adorned my apartment with candles. As I waited for him, my heart raced with anticipation. I was convinced that this was the moment our relationship would solidify. Instead, when he finally arrived, he walked through the door with a face that betrayed his unease. "Can we talk?" he asked, the warmth of our shared romance evaporating in an instant. I sensed the storm brewing, and as we sat opposite each other, I desperately clung to hope. My heart pounded as he began with small talk before revealing the truth with words that felt like glass shards piercing through my heart. "Sophie, I'm not who you think I am." I felt my stomach drop as he unfolded a tale of lies layered in a web of deceit. His real name was different, and the story he spun about being a struggling artist was a facade. He had a wife, real and tangible despite the connection we had built. She was pregnant, and he was enmeshed in a life he felt compelled to honor. I wanted to scream, to cry, to fight back against the betrayal. Struggling to breathe, I released the dessert box, the carefully wrapped chocolates tumbling to the floor. "You're lying," I spat, the air thick with disbelief. "I didn't want to hurt you, I swear," he said, tears glistening in his eyes, but in that moment I saw only the truth. I was a pawn in his elaborate game. Days rolled by in a haze of anger and betrayal. I couldn't escape from the relentless thoughts that spiraled through my mind. The world felt heavy. My safe haven had become a prison filled with memories of our brief romance twisted to ash. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself wandering my neighborhood. Each familiar corner whispered memories I so desperately wanted to forget. I stumbled upon a small bookstore, its window filled with memories of happy moments as a child. The sunlight flickered, beckoning me inside. Engulfed in nostalgia, I roamed the aisles, and an old journal tucked on a dusty shelf caught my eye. I felt compelled to purchase it, as if it held the secrets to finding myself again. As the days turned into weeks, I filled that journal with thoughts, sketches, and reflections on my pain. I poured my heart out onto each page, untangling my emotions like vines wrapped around my soul. Through writing, I began to confront the shadows within me, reclaiming my power. I realized my happiness could not wholly depend on anyone else, especially not a man who had woven deception into our budding relationship. Then one crisp morning, as I flipped through my journal with a newfound sense of clarity, I found an entry that struck a chord deep within my spirit. It read, "To find strength in solitude is to find freedom." That's when I knew it was time to truly let go. I would not allow his betrayal to shape my future. Instead, I would use it as fuel for my own reinvention. Armed with resilience, I began to focus on my career with renewed passion, plunging into community outreach programs and involving myself more and more in the lives of the families I had dedicated myself to serving. The satisfaction of making a difference far outweighed the heartbreak I had endured. Months passed, and I found myself hosting events and collaborating with local shelters, each success punctuating my journey toward healing. I transformed the anger into action and brought a positive impact to my community. Then, one fateful day, in between meetings, I found myself again at that bookstore, searching for inspiration. As I walked in, a woman caught my eye. She was flipping through the pages of a travel book, her face glowing with excitement. We struck up a conversation that quickly spiraled into a profound connection. Her name was Clara, a vibrant adventurer who narrated tales of her travels through Europe, her spirit infectious. Weeks turned into shared coffee moments and laughter-filled evenings, and soon I realized that healing came in unexpected forms. It wasn't just romance, it was friendship, a reminder that life had beauty beyond betrayal. Clara encouraged me to take a leap, one that took me to an art retreat nestled in the mountains, away from everyday distractions. It was there, surrounded by nature and creativity, that I breathed for the first time since Evan shattered my world. During an evening painting session, I recalled the connections we made over those weeks with a newfound depth. Through shared stories, laughter, and struggles, I discovered a profound understanding of resilience. In the quiet of the mountains, armed with a paintbrush and a canvas, I reflected on the storm I had weathered. It became a backdrop for my transformation, layers of color intermingling, telling the story of a woman reborn from ashes, resolute in her pursuit of happiness. When I returned to my city, I was not just Sophie. I was an artist, community advocate, and a woman who had faced heartache but refused to be defined by it. Clara and I remained close, weaving each other's lives with threads of inspiration and playful banter. I realized that while the betrayal still stung, it birthed something beautiful within me. I had transformed my pain into purpose, and in the laughter we shared, I found healing. A year later, I stood in front of a canvas in my new apartment with Clara nearby, our laughter ringing like music. Each brushstroke was a testament to the journey I had taken, and as I stepped back to admire my work, I understood the truth. The past didn't have the power to diminish my future. I turned to Clara, who was now my confidant, and said, "You know what? I may have lost that part of myself, but I'm free now, and I'm ready to embrace life fully." As she nodded knowingly, I marked another page in my journal, knowing there would always be challenges ahead, but also that my heart was learning to soar once again. My heart still bore the scars of betrayal, but I wore them as badges of resilience, a reminder that from the shards of loss, one can rise more refined, more aware, and unyieldingly hopeful. The postcard from my parents still sat on the mantel, a reminder of their happiness, but now it reminded me of a different truth. I was learning to plant my own garden, one that would flourish with love, adventure, and self-acceptance that no one could take from me. And as I closed the journal for the night, I realized the most profound transformation wasn't just the heartache, but becoming the woman I always had the potential to be. Strong, fearless, and unapologetically me.